Welcome to Iconic Talk. This is your community's podcast with conversations about real estate, local happenings, and all things Winchester, Virginia. I'm Mark Francis, a local realtor, broker, and owner at Icon Real Estate. If you want local knowledge, you have come to the right place. Well, yes, I am flying solo today, missing my partner in action, Megan Eanes. We are sorry that you're not here. Feeling a little under the weather. Get better. We just certainly hope that you can recover soon, get back to action, and we're missing you today. So because I am flying solo, I get a chance to chat just a little bit about you on my own, but I do still have a guest coming up that I was able to chat with and connect with, a good friend of mine. Her name's Kathleen Sheetz, and she is a life insurance broker and retirement specialist. And you think about this, and I'll probably talk to her about this. You don't always think about life insurance. You don't always think about, oh, what happens if I die? What happens if my spouse dies? Am I going to be covered? Do I have money to be able to do that if I if I leave this earth? What ends up happening to my family? You know, those are all hard questions that you don't always think about. Well, Kathleen goes back. I've known her for years, part of our church community. It's funny, we went to the same gym together for a while. And she approached me and said, hey, you know, this is something that I haven't heard you chat about on Iconic Talk. I think it would be a great fit. So I'm excited to have her on the show. So just without further ado, I think it makes sense just to go straight to our conversation. You get a chance to hear all the different things that she covers. And, you know, I think it'll make you just think twice about, okay, how am I living my life? Where am I spending my money? And am I taking care of my family? So here is the conversation with Kathleen Sheetz from Equis Financial. Well, I'm here with Kathleen Sheetz, our expert in life insurance and retirement specialist at Equis Financial. So I'm so excited to have you here because we've known you for a long time. And now we get a chance to hear a little bit more about what you do. I'm curious, just tell us how you got into town. How'd you get into Winchester? What brought you here?
Well, I actually live in Stephen City.
Yep.
So I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, and my husband and I went to, we both lived in the D.C. metro area. After school, I was in public relations. That was my field. So I was the director of a company for a while. And then we dated like 6 years. So we were finally ready to get married and have a family. And so didn't really want to do that in the city because we're kind of country people.
Yeah.
So we moved out here because, of course, when you're in the city, you're driving like an hour to get to your job anyway.
Sure.
So now we're just, my husband still commutes to the city, but so we just kind of came here and then, raising kids and hanging out. Yeah.
So how old are your kids now?
I have three.
Three kids.
And they are, let's see here. My baby is in college. He's 20, and my daughter will be 22 in June. And my oldest is 23 and a half. They're a year and a half apart.
Awesome.
So, and they all are adulting. They're all kind of still local. But
empty nester for you. Yeah.
Empty nester, yep. It's different.
It's interesting because you've had a couple different kind of careers and things like that. So walk me through your work career path and then what led you to where you are today.
Right. So as I said, I got my degree in my dad. I have to laugh. So I have a BS, and my dad was like, BS in communications. That sounds about like Kathleen. So anyway, and I worked in the city for a while in that job. Loved it. I was a kind of a jack of all trades on that field. I did a little bit of everything. So that was really great. And then when I came here, kind of worked from home doing that a little bit, telecommuting in a sense, but it's just, once you start having a kid and then a second kid, it's like, you're working,
Sure.
I worked 5 hours this week and it just didn't make sense. So, and then I just did various jobs when the kids were growing up. I had a home-based business for a while. For like 11 years, I sold sterling silver jewelry and then home parties and that kind of stuff. Because my girls' nights out,
Sure.
The kids were little.
Yep.
And then started subbing, and I actually substitute taught for, while most of my, they were in pretty much all through middle school and all through high school, all of them. And, I feel like in hindsight, it was just a good place for me because God had me where my kids were.
Yeah.
So you kind of are in the world that they're growing up in and that kind of thing. So I did all that. And then, just my oldest was just getting, or my youngest was about ready to, get out, and COVID is just hitting. And I was like, okay, that's it. transitioning, and I got my just a friend of mine was just getting into this, and so I was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so I'm like, I'll give it a try, right? So I got my license, and that was 2020.
So what's your license in? Give us the details of what that looks like.
Life insurance license.
Okay.
So in that world, you have life insurance and annuities, and then you have like health and casualty, so there's different property and casualty, and there's health. And so I'm actually going to study this summer here, I think, and get my health license as well.
Okay.
But right now it's all different forms of life insurance, and then the products that the life insurance carriers have, like certain ones for retirement funding and things like that.
Now, I got to say, the general public, when they hear life insurance, they just run the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
People are just like, no, I don't want to get into that. No, that seems like, a waste of money, or no, I don't ever want to think about that. Yeah. How do you approach that subject when you're interacting with potential customers and clients?
Well, it's fun too with my friends, because when I could say, "Hey, Mark, nobody." It's funny, like I haven't had much success with a warm market. Let me just say that. You know what I mean? It's not like friends are like, "Oh, we need life insurance. We should talk." It's like everybody knows what I do, but yet it's all just clients, people I don't know. But yeah. So obviously it's a need that everybody has. Honestly, I mean, there's a little meme that I like, and it says, "You mean you have insurance on your phone and not on your life?" I mean, and it's true. We've got it on our phones. We've got it, with health insurance. We've got car insurance. We have to have homeowners insurance, especially when we don't own our home. But then the most important thing that anybody has would be their family. I mean, that's what we want to protect. That's the most important thing. If I ask you, Mark, what's the most important thing in your life? It would be your wife and kids, Erica and the kids. But yet, if you don't have life insurance to protect them, if something happens to you and you're the breadwinner, things aren't going to go so well, right? Yeah. People work so hard to provide for their families while they're alive. But if they're dead, which, we never know what's going to happen tomorrow, then, it's nice to leave them in a better place. So
what's the basic kind of pitch or the package that you would suggest that people think about and get started with, like right away?
Okay. Well, it really just depends on everybody's scenario.
Customized.
Yes, it's very customized thing. So when you're younger, people tend to go for like a term insurance. It's a temporary, it's the cheapest. It's like good for 20, 30 years or whatever. For example, my husband, we got married, we had the kids. We got, a couple $100,000, 30-year term on him. He's got 9 years of that left, I think, at this point. And when it's done, it's done. But it was pretty inexpensive, and it would pay out our house if anything would have happened, that kind of thing, right? And it's good for, when people have mortgages, it's good for protecting that, because your mortgage is a period of time, right? 20, 30, 30-year terms and stuff. So it kind of takes care of that debt, right? And then there's whole life, which is just what it sounds like. You will die one day and it will pay. You could be 105, right? And so you can get that when you're young, for sure. And if you get it when you're really young, it's, going to be cheaper. Obviously it gets older as we get gets more expensive as we get older. But people tend to look at that as they're older, then they start thinking about final expenses, right? It costs something to put you in the dirt, right? Yeah. So you need a little something for that. So, and then there's vehicles for retirement funding that can, build cash value for people, kind of like a 401k can do. And so, there's different forms.
So it's very customizable, obviously.
It is.
And so what you're going to have to do is sit down or chat with somebody to kind of just get a feel of where they are in their life, where they are with their family, what are they hoping for, right? I mean, I'm trying to think through kind of what are the key questions that you're going to try to ask somebody to get answers from a prospective customer.
We're going to look at the debt picture.
Okay.
And we're going to look at their income and where that's coming from. And we're going to look at, their assets. So, because that would act like life insurance, right? If you have $300,000 in your 401k and you die, then your spouse has that, right? So we're going to look at the debts, the assets, and then we're going to look at, what are their plans? Like, when are they hoping to retire? And just kind of analyze all that stuff. We have policies actually that have what's called a living benefit. And what that is you don't have to die to use it. So, if you don't come home tonight, Erica gets your life insurance money, obviously. But what happens if today you have a stroke or a heart attack or you get cancer? Well, then maybe you can't work. And now that's the biggest reason people foreclose on their homes is medical. So, but you didn't die, so you wouldn't normally get your life insurance policy.
Right.
But now there's policies available that If you have something serious, and it has to be serious, but critical chronic, illnesses or, big disabilities or health events, then you could call Ring Insurance Company. Hey, we're struggling, and, can we have whatever, 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 50, whatever. Can we have a little bit of our death benefit right now in advance to kind of, get through this period? And, obviously it's murky about how all that works out, but it's a possibility for people, which is kind of nice.
That's neat. And I know that with your company that you work for, Equis Financial, that there's other things beyond just life insurance. What other kind of packages and programs? Because I'm a real estate agent, and so I deal with houses. Mm-hmm. For our listening audience out there who care about the real estate world and the market, what programs and packages and things that you offer really kind of merge the life insurance and the financial world all together?
Okay. Well, the biggest thing is it's the mortgage protection option, mm-hmm. which is definitely fitting for our conversation. So technically, when people used to be back in the day, that when you got your mortgage and you were signing the myriads and myriads of paperwork, that the banks, the lenders offered X number of dollars a month, and it was an insurance policy that would pay the house off if you died. Mm-hmm. And most people were like, yeah, I'll take that, right? It had pros and cons. The pros were that it paid off the house, but the cons were that it was attached to the mortgage. So usually if you moved or refinanced, kind of that process started over. Mm-hmm. It also was a decreasing amount of coverage, so it was attached to the loan. So if you owed $500,000, it would pay that. But if you got to the point where you didn't die into your 29th term, year, and you only owed like $20,000, it's paid in that, right? It also the big thing is it only covered an accident because it's a lender. They can't, if you have a heart attack, they're not going to pay your house off, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not health insurance. I mean, I could have stage 4 cancer today and get a house. They're not going to pay it if I die.
Right.
So it was only an accident death, which is maybe okay for young people, but for older people, I mean, there's tons of people that are refinancing and stuff, and that doesn't help them, right? So they got out of that game. So now life insurance companies are the ones that stepped up to the plate to say, hey, we'll fill that gap. We'll cover people. And so now the good thing is it's full comprehensive coverage that pays for everything, not just accidents, although we can give people accidental death policies as well. But so it kind of pays everything. So you, as a homeowner, you will get, because the bank no longer offers this, once you get settled in your home, you'll start getting letters and postcards, and it'll say, hey, mortgage protection insurance, and most people throw it away, right? Mm-hmm. And they think it's spammy. It seems kind of that way, and so they throw it all away. But if anybody does fill that out, somebody like me who's local then gets that thing, and it says, oh, Mark filled this paper out. I'm like, hey, Mark, it's Kathleen. I'm just calling about your mortgage protection. And then I kind of come or talk with them on the phone or do virtuals or in-house or whatever, and we will go through all the stuff we all just talked about. How's the best way to cover this? So it can be the whole mortgage. Like you could have a $200,000 mortgage. We could just get that much in insurance. It pays the house off if you die. It could be, okay, we're going to get $100,000. Maybe that's what's in your budget. If you died, then wife walks into the bank, puts that half down. All of a sudden, our mortgage payment went from $1,200 to $600. Easier to do on single income, better than rent, right? So that power of that lump sum just got that mortgage payment to either taken care of or manageable. Or if people are older, then, and a lot of times they're like, I'm not going to stay here without him. I can't take care of this place, or I'm moving in with my daughter, or whatever it might be. Then we just look at, so let's just use $1,000 a month because it's an easy figure. That's $12,000 a year that they're paying on their house.
Right.
So then we just look at a small little whole life policy, $12,000, let's say, or that could be a little less, a little more, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of mortgage payments. So that person dies, and from the grave, they're paying like a year's worth of payments on the house. So that spouse doesn't have to walk home from the funeral and put for sale sign in their yard. Because, you hate to think about moving when you're dealing with grieving the death, dealing with the estate, figuring out what's next. So that way you've got some time. So even that little small policy protected the mortgage. And so that's kind of how that works. And so my job is to kind of see what people qualify for, what they can, because they might want something they can't have. It's life, it is what it is. And what they can, what they can afford and what makes maybe sense for them. We don't need to pay off the whole house if you're going to move anyway.
So you mentioned something that people will get letters in the mail. And this is, as a real estate agent, I coach people at the closing table all the time and say, yeah, you're getting a loan for a house. And there's going to be all kinds of people soliciting you for, sending you letters and information of, start paying your mortgage down quicker, sign up with us. And it's not the official bank or the mortgage that there are. You're saying that with things that they get, there's something specifically that you get a lead from that is relevant. How can people filter through the junk mail versus through something that's real and legitimate?
Yeah, I know it can be tricky. Well, I think that my company is actually partnering with one of the large title companies, I guess. But so it'll be one of the sheets of paper. So if anybody is signing their paperwork and there's an actual piece of paper inside of with all the other paperwork you're signing for the house that asks you, do you want to check out mortgage protection? And you say, yes, that would be the best thing to do if you can get it through that format. But otherwise, when you get that in the mail, just, it will say this is a mortgage protection or mortgage insurance or, some type of coverage. And if they fill that piece of paper out or usually call that number or whatever, then And
it comes to you because you are the local person for this general area.
But if they fill out 2 or 3 papers, then 2 or 3 people get it and they call.
Right.
Or if they call and they also fill in so sometimes there's multiples. And I'm not the only, I am not necessarily the only person that gets that. There could be other people down the road especially that also get that. And then they start getting all these calls and then they're like, okay, you're just one telemarketer. I'm like, no, I'm not a telemarketer. Like, you requested this information.
I'm a real person. I live here. Yes.
But anyway, so, and the other thing I wanted to bring up was, you were asking about some other things that we do.
Right.
So I will also just assess when I'm in the home, like what, do they have, like I'm like right now I have a lot of, several people that I've been helping. They're like 60 years old, let's say, ballpark of that, little give or take. And they've got money, like an old 401k sitting somewhere. Well, they're bleeding right now. It is what it is, right? And if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, you can ride this thing out. Like, it'll be okay. The market goes up and down. But when you're nearing retirement, you can't really afford to lose, tens of thousands of dollars, in some cases more, right? So then we can segue that, move that into like an annuity type thing or just some other product that will protect that safe growth with no losses. Zero is your hero. So we can kind of do that. So I've been doing some of that for people and that's really helpful. So there's some other things. We also have a really, really great debt elimination program right now that's going on that's basically helps people pay off their house much faster. So a lot of people know that if you pay like one extra mortgage payment a year, and if people don't know this is a good education, that just one extra payment a year, if it's $1,200 a month, you just pay that one time extra. That will knock off on a 30-year loan 7 years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You can. That's a lot of interest that you're saving, and you're getting done in 23 years.
Right.
So that's just one. So you can imagine if you can do that a couple of different times, or just pay, add a few hundred onto each month, and pay a little extra if you can. That you're really, if you can get done in 20 years instead of 30, that's amazing. I have 4 years left to pay on my loan, buy a house right now. So kind of wishing I would have done that a little bit more now, right?
Yeah.
Because then I could almost be done, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's that idea. Well, this concept of this new SDIC, specially designed insurance contract, the way that it works is that it's a life insurance policy, but that's not the main point of it. So you're using a life as the collateral, just like home is a home equity line. So, and then you pay all that extra that you're paying, a little extra toward your credit cards, because hopefully people aren't just paying the minimums there and they'll never get out, right? A little extra on the credit card, a little extra on the car, a little extra on the house for sure. If they put all that money together, which is not any more money than they're already spending, they're just reallocating it instead of just pay all your minimums and put that money into this contract. And it grows really great compound interest. You get dividends and good interest rate. And so growth, really good compound growth. And so then it'll say, ding, 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 Mark, time to pay off that car, and then another, year later, ding, 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 Mark, time to pay off this bill or whatever. So you have all the bills in there, right? And then the great thing is that, let's say you have $25,000 in there and you say, I want to take 20 out to use it to pay off something, right? Well, you take that out, but it's still in there growing because you're taking it as an indirect loan to yourself. So the insurance company is basically giving you their money. You're keeping your money in your account. So it's continuing to grow. So now you got double duty on that money, which is amazing. So now you're paying off that bill, and then you can slowly pay back into that, the money that you're paying on that bill. Now you're just going to be putting into kind of like Dave Ramsey's snowball thing.
I'm tracking you.
The money that you were spending, you're putting in this. But so I tell people that, so anybody who's highly motivated to pay off their bills faster, their house or whatever, this is a good program for them. Anybody who's got a little extra money that they can throw at stuff or are already doing it, this is a good program for them, right? So, yeah, it's really
and that's
kind of
a service and a program that you guys provide that gets set up, and they would contact you for that too.
It's amazing. I mean, it's really out of all. I mean, in the years that I've been in the business, and I have a lot of colleagues that have been doing it a whole lot longer than I have. It's the most fascinating thing we've come across, and we're all doing it ourselves. I mean, it's crazy. It's great. And if you don't, even if you would have bad health and you maybe wouldn't qualify, because it is life insurance at the end of the day, sometimes. You can use a surrogate, you can use a spouse or a kid or somebody else to kind of, because it's just collateral, right? You're the owner and control that policy, and you can do things with the money, but it's just based on somebody else's life. So it's really kind of nice. So the thing is, at the end of this, then, you've paid all your bills off and you still have a big bucket of cash that you'll never have to go into debt again with. Which is kind of like the infinite banking thing a little bit. So that's what's so appealing about it. Yeah, you can be motivated and pay off your house quick, but this has you paying off your house and having a bite of cash when you're done. It's really complex. It's hard to understand, really, honestly, and it requires like an informational Zoom, and people can learn more. But yeah, so
I'm tracking the program. That's really cool. And then you lump in all this under life insurance, right? And so let's just cut to the chase, and everybody's going to have a different number of what they'd be spending per month. So ballpark, give us the averages of just estimates. What are people looking at per month or per year to have just a basic coverage?
Well, you're right. And if I had $1 every time somebody said, well, how much is this going to cost me on the phone? And
that's the question. We all want to know.
I'm like, well, it just depends. Like, are you going to pay off the whole house? Or are you just going to do a portion of it? Because we just talked about the options, right? Are you looking at, term or whole life? What can what can they even qualify for? Because if they weigh 400 pounds, no offense to anyone, they're not going to get a term policy, right? Or if they just had a heart attack or stroke or cancer, they're not going to get life insurance in the next couple of years. It's not going to happen. They want that to be in your rearview mirror. So it's hard to just throw numbers out there for people, because as a broker, I'm trying to, more important to me, I want to, as a broker, we look at different products and we can give the best price for people. We shop around, right? Best price. However, to me, more important than giving you the best price is giving you a product that you can qualify for.
The best product.
Because, you can go online, you can get a quote anywhere, but that's not actual coverage. My job is to get actual coverage. But in answer to your question, I mean, people, I'd say you're usually looking at like, they say sometimes an average of like several dollars a day, so people are usually spending somewhere between, if they're a young couple, like I just wrote up a young couple the other night, I mean, they could get $150,000 for like, 20 couple bucks a month, $25 a month, right? And if you're older, a lot of times you're looking at, 60, 70, sometimes if they're just looking at that final expense policy to pay for that last year or so, and they're in their 70 years old, then maybe it's going to be like $109 a month, so it just really kind of depends, but it's based on, what they're looking at, but we try to look at their budget.
This is just a silly question, but do you send bills for that, or does it get drafted out of a paycheck, or does it get drafted out of a bank account? What's the easiest method to just go ahead and take care of that and know that it's just out of sight, out of mind, just getting done?
I don't take any money, at all. The life insurance companies, once you put in a request for coverage, so we always fill that out, and then if you get approved, then they will, as a part of your application process, they're getting your bank account and routing number, because they want it to be an automatic thing.
Sure.
And it's actually, I tell some people are like, I don't like to pay that way. I like to write a check, and I'm like, I understand, but they do this for a reason, because we all know mail doesn't always get there, to and from. And if you go on vacation, or if it's Christmas and it's delayed, or all those things, or your bank, you get a new bank card, and then now you got to, all those automatic things, everybody's had to do that, right? They're like, my bank are cracked. Now I have to change all these numbers everywhere. So we don't want to have to deal with all that stuff, because this is important. I mean, once you start a policy, if you had for like 20 years or even your lifetime, if you don't pay a couple of months, it goes away.
Right.
And all that money you put into that, you do not want to have that happen.
You don't want that to happen.
So this is for people's protection, that they go ahead and just automatically take it.
Makes
and you
sense.
can stop anytime. You can always stop anytime.
This is also fascinating. And I know that we're just touching the surface of the things that you do. And I think people should contact you to be able to just let, kind of feel out exactly what they need, what you offer, and all that good stuff. I'm going to push a pause on that button, because we'll get to that in a second. But before we get your contact information, we typically have 3 fun, iconic questions that I'm going to, off the top of your head, you can just give answers to. Very simple, but fun. So first question here, what do you like about your neighborhood where you live right now?
Well, I am actually in the country, kind of, sort of. So we have an old 1880s farmhouse, but I just love it's just so quiet. We've got a lot of neighbors that have been there for a really long time. And is that the kind of thing you're looking for? Like just the quietness of just our location. Like I have a great location. You can just, depending on what road you take, you're right in Front Royal, you're right in Stephen City, you're right in Middletown, or you're going up to Winchester.
That's a nice location. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. Location, they say, right, in your business. So it's a good one. Nice.
Second question, what's your favorite local restaurant? What's your go-to location? If you're going out on a Friday night and you're like, this is what I need. What do you crave?
My favorite restaurant. It's always hard. I'm not a good favorites person. Favorite movies, favorite music, favorite color. I'm like, I don't know. I like everything. Well, I live in Stephen City. I'd say we've been going to Roma's for a really, really long time.
That's a standard.
It's
staple
been there
down
for
there.
A really long time. And so, but our typical date night's probably just to grab the ginger Asian takeout Chinese and what are bread bot movies at home.
Yeah, love it.
So.
Yeah, perfect. Those are two good spots there. So third and final question, just give us one little tidbit of why you think our area, the Winchester, Stevens area is special. What makes it special to live in?
Well, it's the northern part of the Shenandoah Valley, so I think we're still, considered that. We say we're not really Northern Virginia.
No,
right?
we are not Northern Virginia.
We are the northern part of the Shenandoah Valley, still in the country. So we got an hour or so to go to get to the rat race out there, right? So, but the fact that we're only an hour or so away also makes it kind of cool because, you have access to the airport and to, more museums or whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So I used to work in a business that had a lot of foreign exchange students coming over. I think you knew that. We talked about that before, and they loved this location. They were like, "Oh, Kathleen, you've got the great location because you're right by because everybody wants to see the nation's capital, right? Obviously, we've got amusement parks, within an hour. We've got so much within a driving distance. We've got a drive-in movie theater here, and not many of those across the country, certainly, and. So, there's just so much around a nice downtown area that we've got now. You're
really selling it. Great. This is great. It's like sign you up for the Chamber of Commerce.
And we have festivals. We have so much going on. So,
that's exactly it. And that's what we love about chatting on our episodes here of Iconic Talk is we get a chance to talk about the entire community, get a chance to know what people do in our community. And so thank you for being here because you've just kind of opened up a whole floodgate of just ideas in my mind and hopefully all the listeners' minds too. So how do they contact you? What's the best method? If something that you said today is like registering, oh yeah, that is, I haven't thought about that. Where do they go?
Right. So and then there's no pressure. I want to mention, my job is just to sit with people and help them. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's no pressure ever to have to get anything. You might not need it. You might not. So my phone number is 540-336-3791, 336-3791. And then my email is easy. So my last name is Sheetz with a Z, like the convenience store. I always tell everybody. They're like, no relation. I'm like, I wish.
You own it?
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm like, I wish I had just a little teeny piece of that because then I would, probably be sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere.
Easy to remember, though.
But easy to remember. So Sheetz with a Z. So my email is my last name, SHEETZ, family at gmail.com.
Nice.
So that's easy. Sheetzfamily at gmail.com.
Nice. Well, thanks so much for being here, Kathleen. I love it, and I'm glad we got a chance to reconnect and have you be a part of our show. And guys, track her down. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you. All right. Have a great day.
Well, thanks, Kathleen. But that was a lot to cover in a short amount of time. And I would just suggest to all of you guys, if you didn't capture her number, look her up on the internet and just give her a shout out because we just scratched the surface, I know, with all the things. She is a world of knowledge. And even for just doing this for the last few years, I know that she is just a leader in our area in taking care of all that stuff for everybody. So give her a shout. And I think that I learned a lot. I think probably the key thing that stood out to me was that mortgage protection plan and how there is this pool of money that she's able to help facilitate to start paying off the mortgages, but also all of your other plans. So she's the expert in that, not me. I'll let her better explain it. Well, before we do wrap up for the day, I think it's important to always talk about the local events. We love talking about what's happening around town. And just as we know of why Winchester is a great place to live, here are just a few examples of why that is the case. Coming up tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you people out there. And especially to my wife, Erica, who is in Ireland right now and will be celebrating St. Patrick's Day in Dublin. Lucky her. Hopefully she stays safe throughout that. But there is the 20th annual St. Patrick's Day pub tour here locally, where tomorrow between 5 o'clock and 8:30, you get a chance to go to a number of 8 different locations. The City of Winchester Pipes and Drums will be playing Irish melodies for a couple minutes at each location. You can go to the Facebook page for all the different details. That sounds amazing. That would be, I can't imagine a way to celebrate any better than that. Go on a whole pub tour. So check that out. Also coming up on Saturday, March 18th in the morning is the Shawnee Ruritan Pancake Day and Bake Sale. That is something that is very popular as well. So that's going to be a free will offering, pancake sausage gravy, scrapple, juice, and coffee, water, Woodman of the World Building, and the Boundary Avenue off Cincinnati Road. Go there for that bake sale and pancake day. Also coming up, there's a free Spring Fest with an egg hunt. It's, can you believe it's almost Easter season? So we're doing an egg hunt Saturday, March 18th in the morning as well, from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The egg hunt starts at 11 o'clock. There's barrel train rides, yard games, sandwiches, peach milkshakes, you name it. All that's happening at Richard's Fruit Market on Middle Road in Middletown, Virginia. Rain or shine. So go check that out. There's so many more things happening, and even next week we had talked about this with Peter Warren, our guest from several weeks ago. The Harlem Globetrotters are coming into town at Shenandoah University. That's next week. That's next Thursday night. So you might as well get your tickets now, well in advance. So that's something that you'll want to check out. Well, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Iconic Talk. We hope you learned something from today's episode and look forward to sharing more with you next week. I'm super excited about next week. Guys, I have to pause my outro right here because I don't think I can say it enough when it comes to what we're going to have for you next week. You will not want to miss it. I'm going to give a teaser, but this is going to be a famous personality from Winchester. You won't want to miss it. I'm pausing because it's going to be that important. Come on back. Check us out next week. And we would love for it, really, if you'd take a moment to share who we are, Iconic Talk, with your friends. Let them know to subscribe. You can let them know that they can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. So remember, when you're looking for a real estate professional, make sure they are experienced, innovative, personal, dedicated, and available. Thanks to our editor extraordinaire, Simeon Battaglia. And until next time, think iconic.